Hello there. Tonight's This Is Your Life began on someone else's Christmas show only a couple of nights ago. And if you were watching, as I know millions were, you'll have seen how the star of that show, all unsuspecting, took his bow at the end. But it was the beginning, as you'll see now, the beginning of This Is Your Life.
Francis and Jack Paul and his orchestra. And may I thank you for all your presents, all your Christmas cards. I'm very grateful, really, and I hope you all have a very, very Merry Christmas. And thank you for being here, and thank you for looking in, and I love you all, and ta-ra.
Tonight, This Is Your Life. And I want to tell you that you're going to have that party after all, because backstage I've got stacks of surprises for you and for your audience here. Got your breath back?
Oh, just about, Eamon. I thought the roof had fell in.
This is your life, Larry Grayson. Less than 12 months ago, few people knew your name, but today millions know it, and your famous catchphrase, "Shut that door." Now, you've just been voted Show Business Personality of the Year by your own colleagues in the business, Variety's Grand Order of Water Rats, for performances like this.
No, you see, I think what's gone wrong with Everard at all. He's got this fat whippet, and you know, and he's spending all his time with this whippet, you see. He thinks he's going to run it. And he keeps calling it Rovina. Well, anyone can see it's Rover. But,
Larry, yours is a story that's taken 30 years of struggle for the adopted son of a Midlands coal miner to reach the top with his own show. But before we go on with that story, your own guest stars from your own Christmas show of a moment ago tonight are glad they don't have to keep the secret any longer. Mike and Bernie Winters. Noele Gordon.
I'll kill that bird.
I knew I shouldn't have risked it.
I know.
Larry Grayson, this still is your life.
I know. Just about.
And for the first few weeks of that life, you were cared for in a foster home before being taken by the family who were later to adopt you, the late Mr. and Mrs. Jim Hammond, and their daughters, Florence and May. And for over 20 years of that life, you lived in this house, which you'll see over there, and which you know so well, number 52 Clifton Road, Nuneaton, Warwickshire, looked after by Florence. And just a few months ago, you moved to a new house where Florence still looks after you. You affectionately call her Fan.
Fan, oh yes, they all call her Fan.
They do, and she's here now, the closest person to you, Florence Hammond. Fan. She didn't know till this morning.
Oh, no. Oh, she did phone me, I think. Oh,
You've looked after him all these years that I've just mentioned. And is it very fussy to look after?
Not too bad.
She wouldn't tell you if I were, and she would never give a secret away at all. No, you're right, love.
Well, Larry, when you were a boy, your other sister left the family to get married, and as you know, settled in Coventry, but she's here too, May and her husband, Charlie Roberts.
Oh.
Now, Larry, as a child, you were determined on a stage career. And at 12, inspired by your heroes on the local cinema screen, you were producing shows for these neighbors in this backyard wash house of your first home. At 14, you made your first professional appearance just 1 mile from that wash house at the Attleborough Labour Club, across the road, here, Everard Road. Is that where you got the name from?
No.
How did you get the name?
Well, I got the name when I was in Bradford. I was in Variety many years ago, and I arrived on Sunday night. You know, we used to all travel on Sundays in those days in Variety. And I arrived at this house and rang the doorbell, and this lady invited me. She said, do come in, she said. She was common as dirt. And I went in, and she said, sit yourself down. She said, have a cup of tea and a bit of fairy cake. That's where I got that from. She said, I'll get you something warm later on. And she said... and then she said, my son's out playing ball, I'll kill him, she said. I said, how old is he? She said, he's 11. So I said, I'm drinking this tea, you see, and the next thing, I heard the back door open, and she said, is that you, Everard? And this boy came with a football under his arm, and he was about 11. I thought he was going to bless you when he's 18, I thought.
Larry, for this professional debut of yours at the Labour Club, you took your first stage name.
Yes.
You remember what it was?
Yes. Billy Breen.
Billy Breen.
That's right.
Well, it was Billy Breen, the boy comedian who appeared at the Attleborough Club, and it was the man who put on the show, a neighbour, in fact your local butcher, that you'd impressed by your determination and wit, who pushed you on stage that night.
Yes, he did.
But within a few minutes he was off again, almost crying his eyes out.
That neighbour, now 73, retired, but here tonight with his wife Nellie, Alf Freeman.
Oh!
That's it.
Oh, that's lovely.
And I want to ask Alf the first question. Alf, tell me, why was Larry, or Billy as you called him, indeed named him that, why was he crying?
Well, to tell you the truth, he had the bird.
He got the bird?
Yeah.
Yes, I don't know whether he had the bird through not being able to sing his voice or whether it was a song. But I definitely thought his career to finish that night.
Well, I know that you persuaded your discovery not to give up, and he joined your variety act to the very lights. Right?
Yeah.
Yep, but then the young performer's career was almost stopped again, because these were the war years, of course, and the Blitz on the Midlands devastated towns and countrysides. And one day, your neighbour, Nellie, is in your house, and at the sound of those dreadful sirens, you took shelter, as usual, under the stairs. Now, what happened then, Nellie?
Billy's father came down and he said, is there anyone in here? And Billy said, yes, me and me Aunt Nell and the two evacuated children from Coventry. He said, right, get out quickly, he said. You must. He said, they're over the top. We went down. It took us all that time just to get to the shelter. And down come...
What happened then, Larry? Do you remember?
Well, yes, because we went to the shop, we just got in the shelter, and there was this terrible explosion, and we were in the shop about an hour. We came out, and the houses were gone completely, you know, floored, you know. And, of course, if it hadn't been for my father getting us out of the place, you see, into the shelter, we would have all been killed. Wouldn't we, darling? But we're here, aren't we?
And isn't it a fact that the stonemasons opposite your house was blown up as well?
Oh, yes, yes. And there's a cross by the house, and it said peace on the cross. Yeah.
Well, that first winter after the war, you and Alf joined a company called, hopefully, Tomorrow's Stars for a tour of pubs and church halls in Devon and Cornwall, travelling through the heavy snowfalls to a different place each night. Now, once during a power cut in North Loo, Devon, you had to send the audience home for oil lamps before you could continue the show. Yeah. Alf, tell me, what sort of things did teenage Larry Grayson do to entertain these audiences?
Just the same as he does today, just messes about.
But the young Larry had a problem, I believe, remembering his lines.
He still does. You need a mind reader.
A star you were to work with 25 years later, comedian and actor Leslie Crowther. Now, Leslie, Larry's knack of coming out with lines that are not in the script caused you a problem or two only last year, didn't it?
That's right, yeah, we were in Paynton in the summer show, right?
Yeah.
Nice, wasn't it?
Oh, lovely. Yeah.
Oh, we loved it. I loved it there. Enjoyed it, didn't you?
Oh, very much.
I loved it, you know. And, do you remember at the beginning of the show?
I do.
At the beginning of the show, he used to come on and say, what television programme am I, right?
Yes.
And I used to say, I don't know. And what did he used to say? You've forgotten, haven't you?
No, well, I don't think that,
Go on.
I can't remember, Leslie.
You can't remember what he was supposed to say, Pinky and Perky.
That's right, yes. Yeah.
And one night he'd forgotten and said, opportunity knockers.
Thank you, Leslie Brother.
Thank you.
Well, there were still many tomorrows before you, Larry. Before that tour with Alf ended, and you started working solo in the clubs and pubs of the Midlands, dashing from one show to another, helped by two friends who usually got you onto the stage in time.
Except the night we pushed him through the wrong door.
Your unofficial stage manager is May's daughter Joyce from Nuneaton with her husband, Reg Mallion. Now, Reg, what door should it have been that night?
It should have been a stage door to Club in Warwick. We'd driven there from Nuneaton to an old building in the centre of the town, where the back door was supposed to be. But all the doors looked alike.
Yes, we have a picture, I think. Yes, there they are. And what then happened?
Well, we was in a rush as usual and just dashed in.
Joyce?
I said, get in here. Get into this door here.
We were halfway in the house and we suddenly realised, well, it wasn't a club at all.
What was it, Larry? Where were you?
It was an old age pensioner's home. And the lady was just getting ready for bed.
How did you get out, Joyce?
Well, we just turned round and pushed everybody out. Casey's
Excuse
first.
me, I said, oh, we're in the wrong place, of course. And she said, I think you are and all. I'll put you kiss my ass to
Thank you,
Cancan.
Well, on stage or off, the unexpected often happens to Larry Grayson, and a lot of your real-life experience you use in your act. Now, we heard earlier about Everard, but what about that other character, Slack Alice?
Oh, well, because Slack Alice, actually, it all came from my Coleman's daughter a long time ago. She never knew I used to call her Slack Alice, but I did.
Anyway, by the mid-60s, Larry, after 20 years as an entertainer, you're still waiting for that one lucky break to stardom. Now, though your health suffers, you continue to work hard up and down the country, still hoping one day to break into big-time show business. But then the stress began to take its toll, and on the morning of the 28th of October 1969, you collapse on the floor of your home in Nuneaton. Fan there immediately phones Joyce, who's a trained nurse, and she dashed round. What happened then, Joyce?
Well, he was in a collapsed state on the floor and I could see it was very, very serious, so I immediately rang for the ambulance and we got him into the Manor Hospital where he had a blood transfusion. I could see it, and it certainly saved his life.
Well, after more transfusions, you're on the way to recovery and soon get well enough to have this picture over here taken. You haven't seen those favourite nurses since they helped you fight back to health. And only last week we know that in one of your very free moments you called back to that hospital to see them. They weren't there and you were disappointed because they've since got married. But they are here tonight from Nuneaton, Errol Turner and Carol Cox. Tell us, what made Larry here such a special patient?
Oh, he was a great one because although he was so ill, he always managed to keep all the patients in the ward happy.
Ellen?
Nurses too.
Nurses too, I can see that. Thank you, Ellen and Carol.
Thank you for coming.
Now, despite your doctor's warnings, Larry, to take things easy, you're determined to keep on trying to break through to the top. 5 weeks after leaving hospital, you're back on stage, and within a few months, working twice a night in a summer show in Brighton. One night, there's someone in the audience with her family who puts a request to the management.
Can I have that lovely man in my panto?
Yes, the unmistakable voice of Dora Bryan.
I never
what I'm going to say.
Dora,
Now, don't start. Now, don't start.
what part did you have in mind for him?
Well, there was no part in the panto, you see, so I said, well, write him a part. They said, well, we can't really write for Larry. So they gave him the part of the ringmaster, and they said, it's up to you and Larry to get together and write something. So I phoned Larry up and said, will you come and see me in Brighton? Because actually I wasn't too good. Anyway, so he came down to Brighton and he walked in the room the way he does, all lovely, you know, and said, hello, Dora, how are you? You know, the way he does, so nice. And I said, well, as a matter of fact, Larry, I've got a bad back. He says, don't start, didn't you? And he says, have you got a vest on? I said, no, I haven't actually. He said, get a vest on. He says, and get yourself a copper bracelet. And he showed me his arm, and it was green with copper bracelet. He turned green. All these copper bracelets. Anyway, we spent the entire afternoon just having a lovely chat about our ailments. My children got home from school, he had a chat with them. He then went next door to see my mother and father-in-law and had a chat with them. We never wrote the script.
Never at all.
You didn't discuss the part at all?
Well, there was no point anyway, because when we did the panto, I mean, we never said the same thing twice anyway, did we?
Never.
The panto was what?
Oh, the pantomime. Oh, yes. The pantomime was Goldilocks and the Three Bears.
Did they smell them?
Oh, they did. You see, I wasn't Goldilocks. I was Goldilocks' mum. I played it just like Hello, Dolly, didn't I? Had sequins everywhere.
Maybe I must tell you, because she used to go on the stage, you see, with a lovely figure, you know, and the blonde hair, and she would say, I'm just a poor old woman. I said, Dora, they'll never believe it.
And I used to have to sell the bears during the panto, didn't I? Because I said, I'm so short of money, children, the children in the audience. I've got no money, children. I must sell my bears. There I was, dripping in diamonds. I must sell the bears. What should I do, children? They used to say, don't sell the bears. And Larry used to say, go on, sell them. They smell anyway.
she said, I'm so poor, and she got everything on in case of fire. All the diamonds, a lot.
But anyway, I must say this, that, you know, if ever I feel a little bit, you know, depressed, really, I remember that panto and the fun we had, didn't we, Larry? We had such fun, both on the stage and off. And it's people like Larry that make me very proud to be in this profession and meet such nice people.
Thank you, Dora Brown. Thank you. As a matter of fact, Heathmore, you were in that summer show when something else happened, yes?
Yeah. Well, it was during that season that Larry coined the phrase, shut that door, because my manager, Evie Taylor, if she ever wanted to tell us anything in confidence, she'd come in and she'd say, shut that door.
She always did. She'd say,
and I used to stand in the wings every night and watch him, and he used to do this bit about, look at the draft, look at the muck, and all this, you see. And then he saw me standing there one night, and he said, shut that door.
Well, it's a catchphrase that the nation first heard on this very stage, on your first live Saturday variety from these ATV studios, when, in fact, a lot of doors started to open for Larry Grayson.
shut that door. No. Riff-raff. No, but you see, I've loved all this musical comedy. Like, I've been going around with John Hanson for years, you know, he couldn't bear me. No. I was with him in the studio at Prince, he wouldn't have me near him. I mean, he sings better than I do, of course, but I mean, he couldn't swish his cape like me. No, the way I used to swish my cape was the talk of the business, but, you know...
Larry, you told millions on that show there that you're implied that you sang in the student Prince, but to one man it came as a complete surprise.
It's not true, he just hasn't sung a note from the Prince in his life.
The student Prince himself, John Hanson. John, do you deny that Larry was ever in the student Prince?
Well, if he ever was, I don't remember him, but, well, knowing his voice now, I don't think I could have forgotten him, do you?
I'm sure you couldn't, John, no.
There's one thing, though, Larry.
Yeah.
I just can't agree that you swish the cape better than me. You know, as a matter of fact, Eamon, a little while ago, I appeared on Larry's programme, and we tried this out, you see, to see who was the best at it.
Yeah.
I really think he won, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So, I'd like to try again tonight. You see, I've been practicing. Right?
You're going to do it, are you?
Yes.
Oh, good.
Now, watch this, and if you don't think this is very good, then I eat my... Can you see me?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
1, 2, the quickness of the hand deceives the eye. Now, how about that?
Excellent. John. Well... Have yourself a merry little Christmas. Yeah, come on.
After that, I'll tell you what to do. My next production, when I mount the son of the student prince, you shall be my son.
Ah, that's lovely.
Thank you, John Hanson.
Thank you, John.
Well, Larry, 2 years ago, almost to the day, you were on stage, practically unknown, but someone watching in the audience turned to his companion and said, within 2 years, that fella will be a star. And how right he was. Star himself right now of the Queen of Hearts panto in Manchester, Danny LaRue. Well, Danny, in fact, you did more for Larry's career than just make that prophecy.
I didn't do it. Larry made his own career, you see. People have to see, like I was seen by somebody who said he's going to be all right. I saw Larry, and I had my nightclub, as you know, which is no longer with us. I couldn't leave the club because it was impossible to find anybody to replace me. And one night I said to my manager, I'm going on holiday, I couldn't care less. And there's one man that can do exactly as I do and probably better, because he does in a suit, I need feathers. It's going to be Larry Grayson, and there he was, and he did very, very well. I was delighted, and I think, well, you've all got what he's got. You see, talent is in there. It's taken longer to come out. But look what they've been missing all these years. You see, it's marvelous.
Couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more. Thank you, Danny LaRue. Now, Larry, before we end your story, I want to take you back to another Christmas 26 years ago when the future was bleak and your friends were few. Tomorrow's stars you might have been called, but stardom was far away when you ate sausages cooked in tin lids and slept on floors in cold church halls.
And one night he was sleeping in the car till we lost him. And then we found him under the snowdrift.
The man who produced that first tour, now aged 80, but he's here from Blackpool, Harry Leslie. Harry, what a Christmas that sounds.
You're telling me. We found him in this snowdrift, stuck in the car, frozen. I said, Bill, come on, get yourself out. He says, I can't. My eyes are all frozen. I said, come on, get yourself out. I said, you'll be all right in another 5 minutes when we get you in the hall where the logs are burning. And when you get that cape on and that woman's bold bonnet, you'll be just yourself again.
All that was 26 years ago, and fam, you're the most important person in his life. You've seen him up and you've seen him down. Yes. Did you think he was going to make it?
Yes, I thought so.
You always thought so, as you told me today. Happy New Year, Larry. Our present to you. This is your life.
My lovely friends, they're in the business, and I love you all very much.